So I've been using the Galaxy Z Fold 6 for some time now, and three questions I want to answer are: one, what was Samsung trying to do with this phone? Two, is it practical for the average consumer? And three, who is the audience of this phone? Drop a like on the video if you want to see videos of this style. First thing I'm going to talk about is design. For the main display, you're getting a 7.6-inch panel with a resolution of 1856 by 2160. It's LTPO, it's AMOLED, 120 hertz. You get HDR10 plus, and it's got 2600 nits of brightness. Then for this cover display, you're pretty much getting the same thing, except the display is only 6.3 inches and has a resolution of 968 by 2376. In my opinion, the cover display, it works, but it's still a little too narrow. Here's how it looks against the S24 Ultra. It's just a little bit too narrow, in my opinion. They're almost there, but it's still just a little bit too narrow, in my opinion. All they need to do is just increase this width by a little bit more, and then it'll be good. I'm not saying it has to be a little bigger, but they need to increase the width just a little bit more on this display, and then it'll be perfect. It seems that they just want to incentivize the main display by making the cover display so skinny, narrow. But since I'm buying this expensive phone, $2,000, I wanted to be able to use both displays comfortably with two hands. We got phones like the OnePlus Open, Xiaomi, the Pixel Fold, Vivo out there that have huge cover displays. So Samsung, I don't really know why they haven't made it bigger yet, but they really just need to make it wider. We've had 5 generations to do it, so they definitely just need to make it wider. As for how this phone is put together, obviously you got this nice big hinge, which is rated up to what, like 200,000 folds and unfolds. And then obviously you got the aluminum frame right here. You got the glass finish on the back. And then I really like this carbon fiber type of pattern that's on the back. I think this is really, really cool. They didn't have it in the last Z Fold 5, but this carbon fiber finish is honestly really, really nice. And yeah, I've got no complaints about the design. The design is really, really nice in terms of like the materials. It's nice, it's well put together, it doesn't feel cheap, and overall it feels good in the hand. And you're not going to have any issues with the design. Obviously, you got these sharp sides as well. They don't dig into my hand or anything. I've got no problems with it. So the design is great. Samsung put together a good premium feeling fold. So if we open up the main display, which is one of the selling points of this phone, as you can see, it's just really, really big and really, really beautiful. The colors are vibrant, it's smooth, it's snappy, it gets very bright, and overall, you're just gonna have a good experience consuming content on this main display. I know some people hate that the crease is visible, but as you can see right here, it's not that visible. So I guess it kind of depends on like what you're looking at. But I have no issue with it being visible, honestly, but I know it could be less visible. So really, I just have no complaints about the display. It's just absolutely wonderful, absolutely beautiful. The only thing I really don't like about this display, which is really not the display, is the selfie camera that is on the inside, which is just absolutely horrible quality. But we'll get more into that as we go on with this video. But as I mentioned, you're going to have a good time consuming content, playing games, just overall having a good experience on this main display. Definitely helps to have that extra space, especially if you have the S Pen that you can buy. I wish that the device came with it though. But you can doodle, you can draw, do all sorts of things. I've seen like there's the AI feature where you can generate AI based off of your drawings. So yeah, in terms of artistry and maybe like creative things that people might want to do on this device, productivity as well, I think that this main display is just really going to help with that because it just has so much space and it's just really big. Obviously, you know that it's like a very thin glass here, so you're just going to have to be careful with it. But in my experience, I haven't had any issues. I just swipe normally. I don't have big nails, so I don't have an issue. I'm not digging into it. The display's not messed up on mine. Haven't had any defects with it or anything like that. So, yeah, I think that the display is really, really nice. And it's going to be pleasing to a lot of people's eyes. So, let's talk about performance. Honestly, I think that this device performs pretty good. Obviously, you got the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, 256 gigabytes or 512 gigabytes of storage, 12 gigabytes of RAM. I think it should be 16, and I think that this device should come with 1 terabyte. But overall, this device performs pretty well. So obviously, I can just keep using the fingerprint scanner. As you guys can see, it works very well. No complaints there. And then we can open an app like Instagram. As you can see, very beautiful, very nice. Exit out right there. We could go to somewhere like Reddit. No complaints there. And overall, yeah, you're just going to have a good experience. Playing games is pretty nice. No lag there. But there's one thing I don't like. So the one thing I don't like is that sometimes there's a little bit of stutter, and there's a little bit of stutter when it has to redraw apps in different orientations. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So if we open up something like Edge, there's just a little small stutter, and it doesn't open up immediately. I don't know if you call it a stutter or just a delay, but basically it doesn't open up immediately. So let's say we're in Edge right now, and then let's close it, and then let's try and open up Edge in cover display mode. There's just a little small stutter that I don't like. Obviously, this doesn't happen in every single app, but it happens in some apps like Edge. But it's just a thing that I just don't like. See, look at that pause. It's just, I don't like it. Now, it may not happen in Instagram that badly. We can close it. Let's go to Instagram. See, it wasn't that bad in Instagram, but I don't really like the kind of delay that you get when it has to redraw the apps in the respective orientation mode that you're in. I think that that definitely should be better. We got Snapdragon 8 Generation 3. This is a very fast processor. It's very efficient. It's very smooth. So we should not have this issue of kind of like a delay when you have to redraw apps. I think that it should be instant, and it happens enough that I gotta mention it. It's just not happening that much on screen, but I mean on camera, but in my usage, it's been happening sometimes and kind of just takes away from the smoothness of this phone. It's pretty smooth for the most part, 99% of the time, but sometimes it will have a little bit of stutter here and there, especially when you have to redraw the app in a different orientation mode. What's not great about the performance of this device is the battery life. The most that I've been able to get with this phone in terms of battery life is like 4 or 5 hours of screen on time. And that's very, very trash. That's poor. I do not like that at all. If you're using the main display a lot, you're probably going to get worse. Me, I do like mixed usage, sometimes using the main display, sometimes using the cover display. You're going to be charging this phone frequently, even in mixed usage. You're going to be charging this phone. And I think that for 4 hours screen on time, it's just really not acceptable in 2024, especially when you have a phone that's this expensive. And as I mentioned before, there are many devices like the OnePlus Open, the Google Pixel Fold, you got the Xiaomi, you got Vivo with their folding phones. They're coming out with bigger displays, obviously cover displays, and they're coming out with bigger batteries. This phone needs to have at least 5,000 milliamps of battery. 4400, that's just not enough, especially when you're using a cover display a lot. It's just not good. So please, on the next Zfold phone, we need to have at least 5,000 milliamps. Another thing is we need to have at least 45 watt fast charging, just like the S24 Ultra. In this phone, you're getting 25 watts. It's fine, but I would like to see 45 watts fast charging, especially on a device this expensive, $2,000. If the battery's bad, I want to be able to charge it fast. That way I don't have to wait that long within charging, and I can charge right up quickly. So, yeah. So let's talk about the cameras. So for the camera, you're getting a 50 megapixel main sensor, a 10 megapixel telephoto, and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. And this phone has 3 times optical zoom. Honestly, this phone takes pretty good shots. I believe that the main sensor is from the S24 and S24 Plus, but it's not the system from the S24 Ultra. And I'm going to put some photos on screen so you guys can compare it to the S24 Ultra, but overall, it takes pretty good photos. I wish that it had, for a phone this expensive, I wish that it had the S24 Ultra camera system, but it takes some pretty good shots. They're not going to blow your mind. They're not out of this park really, really good, but they take some good photos, and the regular person really shouldn't have an issue with the photos that this phone takes. On the selfie camera of the cover display, it's 10 megapixels, and it takes, pretty decent selfies. No issues with it there. But what's really poor, and what I kind of mentioned before, is the camera that's on the cover display, which is just absolutely terrible. It's like right here, but it's under the display. It's 4 megapixel under the display, and that's just absolutely horrible for the camera right here. I don't really care about under display camera tech as the technology compromises the camera too much, I think. I think that people will mainly use the main display for like taking selfies and doing video calls. But the camera here is so bad that it would just do an awful job at both of those things. I would definitely like to see an improvement here, even if they have to give up the under display camera, which I don't really care about anyways. I wouldn't mind if they just gave it a hole punch. I really wouldn't mind that at all if it means a better quality camera. So, yeah, the cameras are fine, but the under display camera right here is just absolute garbage, and they could be better, and the cameras definitely could be improved. So here in the settings at Galaxy AI, here are your various Galaxy AI features that Samsung really wants to talk about and really talked about in their event. Obviously, you got call assist, chat assist, interpreter, note assist, transcript assist, browsing assist, photo assist, drawing assist, photo ambient wallpaper, and health assist. And then you got the option to process data only on the device. Some of these features do require online processing, just to let you know, but all in all, these features are some pretty good features. Whether or not they're useful is just up to you personally. But the most useful feature I find here would be the transcript assist, which is actually a really, really good feature. So you basically can just record and press transcribe, and it will do that for you. And that's really, really nice. But it's not perfect. It can also translate for you in like different languages, I think. A couple different languages. So I think that this is good for like writing certain scripts or stories, maybe generating ideas. I think it's a really useful feature. So I think another fun Galaxy AI feature would be the photo assist. So here we are with one of my favorite wrestlers, Edge. And if we press this AI generate button at the bottom, we can sketch the image. Let's just say we want to draw a flower right here. And let's press generate. So basically it'll generate a realistic flower, like right there. I think it's actually pretty cool, see? So make it look like he actually has a flower drawn right there. I think that that's a pretty cool feature. Another cool feature is this portrait studio in the corner right here. So basically you can turn your selfies or photos into like some sort of effect, like a comic book character looking. So let's try and do it with my man Edge. Obviously it's going to take some time. It takes a couple seconds, but that's just how this AI thinks Edge is looking. Doesn't really look anything like him, but I guess, some people's experience is going to be different. So this is actually how some of mine look. And honestly, I think they do a pretty good job. Honestly, I wish I looked like this, honestly. So I think it actually did a pretty good job for me in the comic book part. So I think that this is just a pretty cool feature. And then obviously you got the photo ambient wallpaper, which basically will change your wallpaper based on the time and weather. Me, I'm somebody that really likes wallpapers, so I think that this feature is actually pretty cool. Some of these features can be a bit gimmicky for the person that doesn't use them, and at the same time, nobody really like asks for any of these features, but it's good that these features are here, and they all work pretty good, and they can be useful for you. So now that we've gone through most of this phone and most of its features, I want to answer the questions that we introduced at the beginning of the video. Number one, what was Samsung even trying to go for with this phone, and what did they really want to do? Honestly, it's kind of hard to tell what Samsung really wanted to do with this phone because really outside of the slightly wider cover display, this phone really offers no meaningful improvements over last year. The improved water resistance is nice, but you're still getting that pretty bad camera on the main display. The charging, in my opinion, isn't fast enough and should be 45 watts. The battery isn't big enough and should be 5,000 milliamps. The cover display still isn't wide enough. So overall, this doesn't offer anything that's meaningfully improved over last year. Phone upgrades year after year, they feel more like car upgrades, meaning that when a car maker releases a car for like the next year, they only make small improvements while keeping the same design unless they move to an entirely new platform. My argument here is that it shouldn't feel like that with these foldable phones because big improvements can be made year after year still, especially with this Z Fold 6. And as I mentioned before, we're seeing that with other foldable phones, the Xiaomi Folds, the Vivo, and then you got Oppo. The OnePlus Open 2 is coming. So is the Pixel Fold 2. That's coming as well. So basically, I would just like this phone to bring faster charging and bigger displays. Honestly, I think that the only thing that they were really trying to go for in this phone was to just introduce their AI and show off their AI features on a foldable. Some of those features are actually pretty good, but at the same time, I think that it would be much better if we saw more meaningful, tangible improvements, such as, like I said, a wider cover display, a bigger battery, a better camera system overall, and faster charging. Selling a phone for just AI features as an improvement comes off as very gimmicky when they really should have just chosen to make more tangible improvements. But the AI features, like I said, they're nice. Next question, is the phone practical for the normal person? And the answer to that is yes and no. I say that it's practical to a normal person, using myself as an example. I'm a normal person. I've been using this phone for a while, and it works pretty good. It has a pretty good experience. I can use navigation normally, play games, watch videos, make calls, send texts, do all normal things with this phone and have no issue. Whether or not you should buy this phone is like whether or not you should buy an electric car. If you got a garage and you're going to charge it, and you got charging stations in your area, and you're not, you know, having to drive super far to go charge, and you're able to adapt your lifestyle and time to use an electric vehicle rather than a gas car, then an electric car is practical for you. I think the same concept applies here with the Z Fold 6. If you can adapt your phone, if you can adapt your life around a phone with two displays, a thicker design, a foldable design, and I think that a foldable phone can be practical for you. But I also want to say no, this phone is not practical to the normal user only because of the price. $2,000, that is not practical for a normal person. I think that the Z Flip 6 is more practical financially. Now, yeah, you can finance, but the monthly payments are going to be far more expensive than financing a regular phone when you can just get a much cheaper device that will do everything you want and more. So for practicality, as I said, yes and no. And for the final question, who is the audience? I'd say the audience is definitely phone enthusiasts, tech enthusiasts, phone lovers, But people who also just want to try something new. If you got $2,000 sitting around or you can afford the monthly payments and you want to try something new, then you can try this Fold. Or you could try something like the Pixel Fold or the OnePlus Open, because it's still bleeding edge technology. It's still fairly new. It's an interesting experience that you're not going to get on other phones. And I think that most people will be pleased with the experience. Although this phone has its shortcomings, it's still a good phone for normal use, and I like it. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to discuss with you guys today about the Z Fold 6. Please drop a like on the video and subscribe for more, as I'm just going to be having more tech reviews of phones, and my watch reviews are coming pretty soon as well. But thank you for watching this video, and see you guys in the next one. Cheers. Peace. Bye.